Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to be getting in front of the camera a lot so that I can run all of the SATA cables to the appropriate drives and the motherboard. Just going to get that out of the way a little better. Okay, so I don't know how well y'all are going to be able to see this, but see, look at that. What I was talking about earlier, motherboard connectors fell right off. But conveniently, because they're in this little deal, there's no problem with reconnecting it. We'll worry about that later. Right here are our SATA ports. This particular board contains 8 SATA ports, 6 of which are SATA 3 6 gigabit a second, 2 of which are SATA 2 3 gigabit a second. So on the 2 that are SATA 2 3 gigabit, I'm going to connect my 160 gig hard drive, because I am more than confident that's not SATA 3, and my optical drive, because it also is not SATA 3. All of my other drives, including my solid state drive down at the bottom, will be connected to 6 gigabit connectors. I'm not sure if all my drives actually support 6 gigabit, but if they do, it'll utilize it. If not, it'll just run at 3 gigabit speeds. So no issue there at all, really. So first off, let's find my 160 gig drive, which is right here, actually. So I'm going to connect that with an older style SATA cable. Blue, because it's what I got from my old machine. I know it works. Now, from what I was referring to earlier, because my video card is sitting on top of half of my SATA connectors, I'm going to remove the back plate, which should enable me to see the SATA connectors underneath the video card easier. So, I don't know if that cup was in y'all's way, but it's not now if it was. Let's take all 500 thumb screws out, and then that back plate will just fall right off. Get that out of the way. Some of those thumb screws that decided to run at me. So now I've got all this extra light coming in the back. I'll be able to see what I'm doing. And there they are. Obviously y'all can't see them, but right underneath the video card are the 2 black connectors. Now, they're numbered, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as you're going up the list here. But when they're stacked on top of each other like this and numbered 1, 2, number 1 is the one furthest this way, or if it's laying flat, it's the one on top. So that's how they usually refer to those. So the 7 and 8th one up here, I want the very last one, number 8, to be my optical drive up here at the top, my DVD burner. So I am going to take a standard, if you have connectors like this that one end is right angle and one end is flat, you pretty much always want to connect the right angle side to the actual drive, because this is really easy to go like that, to flip over. However, if you put a right angle connector on the motherboard portion, if you do that, it's hard to get a second cable in underneath it, or if you go like this on top of it. So, just a friendly pointer there. Now, since this is not really vital, I'm going to run it through back here. Let me see if I can get this to line up correctly. It's going to take a little finagling, so give me a second on this one. I don't even know if I have it oriented the correct way. Let me see if I can come around it further from the back. Oh, that's easier. You know, might be easier just to bite the bullet, take the video card out. Duh. So let's do that real quick. Another reason why I haven't tried connecting the power connectors to the video card. I knew there was a good chance I would have to do this. Now, there is a release on top of the video card, actually. There. And now it should slide right out. Come on. You can do it. Hey, there we go. And out she comes. Now we can set her over there. Now you can actually see all 8 SATA ports. So let's go ahead and connect this up like I wanted to initially. If I can get that. Here we go. And then the other side of the cable will be run back up through here to the drive. Hello. There it is. There. Now the excess, there's a lot of excess back here. I don't know if y'all can see that through the case or not. This excess wire, I'm just going to leave back here. And then I'm going to tuck it up underneath the actual primary motherboard tray. And I'm going to wind it up back there to make it take up the least amount of space, and then slide that panel back on there, because you want to minimize the amount of cables out in this area so that this airflow that comes from the fans is relatively unobstructed going through the case. So let's connect up our little baby hard drive. Bloop. Conveniently for me, this cable was already zip tied from my old case. This should connect if I didn't have it upside down. Yay! Okay. Now, that is pretty much done. I'm going to try to push it so that it stays, for the most part, out of the way of the other 6 connectors. Also, I'm going to have the video card going over the top of that, so you don't want it coming forward any. So, now, let's start with our primary hard drive right here, which is our solid state drive. I will connect a SATA cable to it, like so. You gonna click? No? That's okay, you don't have to click. Oh, it's snug anyway. Oh, plugged the wrong end in. Duh! That was dumb. Okay. Ah, I see the trick here. They normally want you to put these right angle connectors on the drives. However, this particular drive is sitting on the base of the case. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to work. So what I'm going to do, since I have only 4 other drives, 1, 2, 3, and then the 2 terabyte drive I'm going to put in, I'm going to go ahead and stick the right angle connector on this top section here, like so. While not recommended, because it's blocking that second SATA port, in this particular case it is at least required for now, until I can locate a 6 gig SATA cable that is not right angle on either side. So, same thing, route it through the back for the most part, and then connect the straight connector to the drive. As I block everything you're looking at. Okay, so there is that. Make sure that's snug. Now, next cable. Now, it doesn't really matter what order you connect these drives in. However, I'm going to try to connect them in size order, just because I'd rather not go into my BIOS and make a bunch of adjustments. I'd rather just have them work. Let's actually do this instead. I'll come in from the back. Click. back out, and back in. And that will be SATA 3, like that. Once again, in from the back, plug into my 1 terabyte drive here, back out the side, in from the back. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's come in from in front of this pillar. So one will come in from behind the pillar, which will be the lower one, and one will come in from in front of the pillar, which will be the higher one. And that will prevent difficulty actually getting these plugged in. See, I say it's going to prevent difficulty, and then here I am fighting with it. There we go. And then this one plugs in just like that. Click! Awesome. And now, this will be my 2 terabyte at the top. And then this, since I've got another 2 terabyte coming in later, I'm going to go ahead and plug this one in the bottom connector, so that when I have the other 2 terabyte drive to plug in, it's a little easier to connect up. So now, all these extra SATA cables you probably see back here are all out of the back of the case, so they're not going to be in the way of pretty much anything, airflow-wise, so there's no real issue there. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do, since I noticed the video card was getting in the way of other things, was I am going to try to route the 8-pin power connector all the way up here at the base of the board there. Obviously it'll reach, but what I'm going to try to do is route it like this. I'm going to try to go underneath this video card, underneath the 3 connectors of the actual video card, this is the capture card, sorry, and then around through here and into that 4th, rather than coming up like this. Which actually, now that I look at it, no, because that'll interfere with my 24-pin connector. That'll make that more difficult. So, let's see about taking this card out. Oops. Drop that there. Pop this guy out. Now, if I route him like this, let's do that for now, because then I can drop this card back in, which will assist in holding the cable in place. And this is completely safe to do, routing it underneath cards like this, as long as you're not pinching the cable. See how it's got movement there underneath the card? As long as you can do something like that, running the cable underneath these add-in cards should not pose a problem at all. So, let me screw that back in. The benefit of doing this again is to assist in airflow. Keeping the cable out of the primary section of the motherboard, out of this area, will increase airflow over the top of all of your cards. Memory as well, and your South Bridge and North Bridge chip, which actually I forgot to point out is right here. Now, again, I'll route it up underneath all of this, and I'm probably going to have to switch sides for this. There we go. But, as I route it through here, I will reach up. Oops, caught on that grounding cable. Let me go ahead and pull that out because it's currently tangled in my heatsink until I can get that routed correctly. Now, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in there. Then, I can finagle with it a little bit more to get it exactly where I want it. Make sure, I don't really want it making direct contact with this main heatsink. There's a heat sink going over all of the voltage regulators, and I'd rather keep it from making contact with those, just because the more contact it has with that, the more heat it's getting, and you really don't want that thing getting very hot, obviously. So now, let's get this video card back in place on top of this wire. Click, no problems. Alright, now we'll screw that back into place. This time I'll start with the hard screw. You may have also noticed that I left this blue plastic connector on top of that. That's not going to cause any kind of problems. You can take it off, you can leave it on. The only reason you would have to take it off is if you were connecting a second video card. However, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on just for safety's sake of the added protection for keeping this thing from shorting out through those parts. I don't think a card has ever shorted out there, at least not that I'm aware of. But, and right there. A little bit of movement on that cable is all I'm really looking for. That is perfectly safe. So, now we can move on to plugging in all of the power connectors. And then I will do a little additional cable management. And we should be done. Let me see if I can do the main motherboard connector real quick. I'm going to try to go out the back of the case like that and come back in up here. Let's see, how is this going to work? Actually, it might work better if I came in here and did it like that. That should work. And connect, you. Connect. This heatsink is hitting my hand and it hurts. Sharp metal against weak skin. Come on. Come on. There we go. Click. Pull the rest. Any excess. You don't want to put a lot of stress on that connector. So I'm going to go ahead and leave some excess in there with it. Just so there's not a lot of pull. But that's that. And we'll plug the motherboard connector back in. And there are the power connectors for the motherboard, 24 pin and the extra 8 pin 12 volt. All of the SATA cables are routed and connected. However, I'll do a little cleanup in a little bit. And here in a second, I'll run all the power cables for the hard drives, optical drive, and video card, and then I will have to run a couple for my extra fans. So that'll be next.